Blaze.
Welcome back to the next part of this Truth and Rhythm episode. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. Also become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon, or consider donating at funkinstuff.net. Thank you so much for your interest and support. Enjoy.
What was Leon's vibe like, and how did he kind of mentor?
He just taught us. He wanted us to learn. I've been at Motown, so it was a total different thing. Nobody's teaching anybody anything. You know what I mean? It's like, go for it, go for yourself, and if I can anyway, I can kick you down to keep you away from getting to where I'm at. It was like that, and Solar was the exact opposite. I mean, Leon and Dick gave me a leash so long. I never thought anybody. As a matter of fact, Leon kicked me into production before I was even thinking about doing that. You know what I mean? Because I watched him and I watched all the, and I've been around Motown and watched it. And I just wasn't thinking I was ready for that. I wasn't even worried about it. I just wanted to get some songs on people's records. And then suddenly he had me in there, trained doing overdubs and stuff on different, we go in and cut the track, and then he fixed the drums, and then I go to another studio and do overdubs and cleanups and stuff. I mean, this is training for his style of production, because every I had to be dotted, every T had to be crossed. He was, nothing was left to chance with Leon Production Silvers. Everything was spot on. If the record didn't happen, it wasn't going to be because there were mistakes or something was out of pocket or out of tune. Nothing was out of tune or out of sync. I wish you still had 2-inch tapes. You could take them now and pull them up and pull every track and go against the drums. I guarantee you, no lick on any instrument was not hitting with the drums on any of our production. That's how, before there were sequencers, it was like somebody took MIDI chords and ran them up our butt and hit, trying to get something. Everything had to be perfect. So he taught all of us to do what he was doing, that was making those records hits. And because as he knew was coming, I guess, if the hits kept coming like that, there was going to be too much work for one person to do. Right. So he trained all of us so that we, to be producers, and that's what happened. There was too much stuff coming up. We were working on 10 albums at a time sometimes,
Yeah, Lakeside, Climax, Dynasty,
Night, Tavares, Glenn Jones, the Brothers Johnson. It wasn't just Solar. It was just, it was acts, all over the place. And so, and the most fun I ever had in my life, again, I wouldn't change any of that. I mean, I'm thinking even the horrible illness, I wouldn't change, because that would change the other stuff that happened. You know what I mean?
right?
I don't know how many times in life you think, ooh, okay, I'll take that pain again. But I would, because I don't know what would have happened, I don't know what would have happened. You know what I mean? So I know what did happen. And what did happen is I got a chance to make records for like 8 years without, very few instances did anybody bother us about much. Clive Davis was one. Well, he's Clive Davis, so what are you gonna do? But he was always wanting stuff changed. But pretty much everybody else just left us alone.
Well, why don't you describe, in your mind, What were the key elements of the Solar sound? Because it definitely was a distinctive sound.
Uh, um, uh, um, Melody, hooks. It wasn't. It was Leon's philosophy was you don't let anything go. With a song, there's three major things that lock people in, and they like one of them a lot, and the others a little bit, or even if not at all, they like that one thing, or maybe all three. But if you let up on any of those three things, you're giving up hundreds of thousands of units of sales. Melody, you have to have a hook. There needs to be something there, a title, and a hook, that that's something that the story that can be. That's why we use double entendres and and landmarks and mid American uh idioms and stuff. I mean, it wasn't by chance. We wrote titles down and waited on the occasion for when they would. So melody and hooks, the groove, the beat. Oh, those two things. Well, the lyrics, melody, and the music. Some people just la la la. I'm kind of one of those people. I hear a melody more than anything. Even if sometimes, even if it's a great lyric, I may not really be listening. Even though I'm a lyricist, I'm a melody person and harmony. Some people like to bob their head. And if you got the groove going for it, that's all they need. Other people need, Bob Dylan, Smokey Robinson people need something that they can relate to. You know what I mean? Tell me something and say it in a way that I feel like that was my life. I experienced it. I could have written that myself. They couldn't, but you know what I mean? That's how, they need to have that, that thing. So if you let up, and a lot of people would have the groove right. They might even have a decent hook and melody, and they would just write some lame lyrics. That would most of the time they didn't let the groove or the melodies go so much as sometimes they let the melodies go a little bit, and they just had an attitude on there and they had the groove going. But the thing that people let go the most was lyrics. That either they didn't know how to do it or they didn't think was that important. And Leon thought you lose at least 200,000 units if you let that go. Because some people they need to feel like they need to feel part of that. And we all have those songs that we feel that's part of our lives, and you know what I mean? And we remember that stuff.
The
So
lyrics help create intimacy with the listener, and they can identify with it. Even
right.
though I'm a groove and rhythm guy, but my wife is totally about the lyrics, and she's zeroed in on that. So yeah.
I mean, obviously, Bob Dylan's people were lyrics people because he weren't getting no groove or melody from that. It had to be, it's totally about lyrics. It was especially early on after he turned electric, and got the band and those guys. Then of course things changed. But early on, him and just that acoustic guitar, it was about the lyrics.
But if you can have it all, yeah.
So the thing of it is do it all. That's what Smokey did it all. And me and Leon worked together so well, I think, because coming up, we had the same influences coming up. We heard Norman Whitfield and Smokey Robinson and Curtis Mayfield. I mean, none of those people let anything go. Every song was a masterpiece.
Stevie
Whether,
Wonder,
whether,
yeah.
whether it ended up going that way or not, they wrote it to be a masterpiece. They weren't writing B-side. You know what I mean? It may end up being an album cut or a B-side, but they didn't write it as that. You know what I mean? So that's how we did it. We didn't write anything to be a B-side or an album cut. We wanted everything to be potentially a single. And have every part. And that's the, like I said, that's the period of my life. I wouldn't go and do that different for anything in the world.
What was it like in the studio with some of those being laid down, and Leon kind of directing things?
It was totally a great time because Leon's other great talent, beside the fact that he can do all of this stuff on his own if he wants to, is being able to see in somebody else something that they have that's important, that's really a thing. You know what I mean? And so he found all of these people and he brought them together, and it's just those tracks were just. I mean, it's Ricky Free Smith, who plays bass with Morris Day now. He played all of that stuff over the top. The stuff he was the keyboard player, right? He played all that stuff. The swells and all of that stuff. All of that. That was I call him. He's ridiculous. The man plays drums, bass, keyboards. But all of that. All of those. Will Shelby, Joey Gallo, Kevin Spencer, the guitar player Stevie Shockley and Pepper Reed. I mean, all of these people had their thing. Like, they're like the best at what they do. And you put all of that stuff together, and Leon was able to take chaos and turn it, and he knew exactly what, no, oh yeah, do that. I mean, that and to turn it in, exactly what I saw in Hal Davis that first time when he took the songs apart is what I saw in Leon. And I learned how to do that from Leon. Hal Davis, I just saw it happen. But Leon, I learned the process. And I already had the melodies. I was already melodic, and I didn't think I was a lyricist because Motown always rewrote my lyrics, but he taught me that I could write lyrics too. So once I got through that, then I could do all three things without a problem. And there was a formula there, what I mean, that worked, just like Motown or anything else that came from melodies, but syncopated melodies and always a hook. First and foremost, a title and a melody with that title that's that says it right there. So you can immediately turn that into something. You don't have to worry about making it into something that nobody can understand. Just the title alone will tell you where you're going. So then from there, you just I used to. A lot of people can write lyrics just because it comes into their head because they're wordy. I'm not like that. I have to get books and all kind. I got all kinds of stuff. By the time I've written a song, I have like all these pages around that's like a script. It could be a sitcom or something. I've written so much stuff down. So, but I need to know who the characters are, what happened, to whoever, why they're feeling this way. I need to know all of that. Even though you can't get all of that in a song, I need to know that in order to relay that feeling into the song. So, everybody lyrically, everybody had their own way of doing things. There wasn't any Solar way of doing that. Everybody had.
Dana, I want to throw out there, the one thing about Solar that's really amazing to me when you think about it, and kind of a little bit like the Datum bands. All the Datum bands, even though so many of them were doing funk, they all had a unique sound, a unique style, and they were not the same at all. They were very different.
Right.
And the Solar sound was very identifiable. It's like, that sounds like a Solar production. I can tell that. But if you talk about the acts, whether there's Climax or Lakeside or Whispers or Shalimar, they also still had their own unique identity and sound within the Solar sound.
Because the sound isn't necessarily musical. It's production value. Dot every I, cross every T. Whatever you do it to its the best. Don't let anything be less than what you wanted that to be, because you can't be in anybody's car talking over that part, right? So that's something Leon brought in with him that everybody locked into. Stevie Shockley, the Galloways, even by the time Facing Them showed up, it was already a thing. Production value. And everybody took that to their project and did that. Everybody had their own thing, where they came from, where they grew up with, who they admired or whatever. But you add production value to that, and you got the Solar thing.
Did they have pretty much the same engineers on those records?
There was a few different guys. We all had to have guys. Steve Hodge, of course, was the biggest out of them that everybody knows. But then there was Bob Brown. There's Jim Shiflett, Tavi Moda, Mike Frankie. There was a lot of different cats, but they come in if they felt the vibe, because their attention span had to be the same. As they couldn't be floating around. There was so much attention going on into syncopations and punching in and out of places, and you know what I mean. So they had to be on it. The engineers had to be on it, you know. And also we you know, we like cats who creative, you know, who did Bob Brown and Jack Rubin were like just amazing with drum sound.
Jack Rubin was on the show recently.
Jack Rubin is my favorite engineer of all time, above everybody. Steely Dan's engineers, I don't care. Jack Rubin is the guy. He's a bad guy. He's a bad
Hmm.
man.
He learned from George Massenburg.
Okay.
Yeah, Earth, Wind, and Fire stuff.
Yeah, he was a bad man. His mixes and just the way he heard stuff. Everything he did, he was quiet and he was always focused. No matter whatever kind of madness is going on, he might stop and laugh for a minute, but he was, you know, he was focused, and you knew. And I never worried about anything once we hooked up with Jack. I never worried about how anything was going to end up sounding, or was over his shoulder and mixes. Or anything. I didn't worry. I just let him go because he was that bad of a guy. You know, to this day, I would grab Jack if, you know, given a choice. You know, he was it for me.
Dana, sum up for the viewers and listeners, the best known tracks that you played a role in.
Shalimar Whispers and Gladys Knight probably were the biggest. It's the Love Thing, In the Raw, A Night to Remember. There It Is was really big in the UK. This is for the lover in you. You're number one in my book. Action for Evelyn King. But mostly the Whisper, Shalimar, and Gladys Knight probably, you know, were some of the, even though some people's favorites weren't those. So some people actually got some of the ones that we put a lot of time into that didn't become singles or something. One of my friend Robert DeBlanc told me he has two favorite songs, and one of them is a ballad me and Leon did on the Silvers called P.S. The Unfinished Letter. And I'm really proud of that song. I'm glad that somebody got it and listened to it. It is a really beautiful ballad, you know. But some things just don't end up being a single, you know. Or yeah, I mean, long after the Spinners album had come and gone and faded and didn't do that much, people would come up and you know, we've come into our time for love. People would talk about that. And they would think because they just heard it, there was something new that came out. You know, so I mean, there was no momentum. People didn't get a chance to hear it. You know, if they had heard it at the right time. You know, I'm very proud of the Spinners record. I'm very proud of Tavares. And the two biggest wastes is Collage and Reel to Reel.
I
Even
was gonna, I
today,
was gonna ask you about Reel to Reel. Yeah.
even today, those two records could still happen. So Collage, the last Collage album that we did, and Reel to Reel. That stuff. Hammy is recently, Marcus has put out the demo in different places over across seas and stuff, and it's getting a lot of play because that album, man. I mean, I mean, that's stuff that those songs are great, you know, and even I mean, Collage, Romeo Where's Juliet. I mean, that song is still even now with her, just that great a track.
How much do you think timing plays a role versus like luck or whatever in a
It
song
all
catching on?
as much as I've heard some of the best songs I've ever heard in my life do nothing. I've heard some songs that I thought go to number one, you know, because of timing. You know, I mean, we had some stuff come out, uh, like Collage, for instance. They were on Constellation, so like Constellation was MCA distributed, and but their record came out the same time as all of the biggest R&B MCA records came out. They didn't stand a chance. You know what I mean? It didn't have anything to do with the quality of the music. It didn't stand a chance. Uh, um, there was some kind of clash with Clive Davis and stuff for the real stuff because it was, you know, it was making a little bit of noise and he just pulled the plug. So, you know, because I mean, you could look at those two Soul Train performances and tell they were going to be something. You know, I mean, one of the songs was the first single. Leon and my friend Leroy back in Dayton and Dominic from Real to Real wrote "Love Me Like This" was a great song, and the second single was the Jam and Lewis tune. can you treat me like she does? I mean, look at what went on with where they went. So that same sound. It's not like, I mean, it's the same, the same thing that happened that they did with Janet Jackson and stuff. It was that same group. So it's like, it should have happened and would have happened had everybody heard it. Anytime anybody hears that stuff now, oh, what happened? I never heard that, or you know what I mean, or months later on some of that other stuff, people will comment thinking that it was new and it was too late. So uh, the critics told us, said that on a few different reviews, that they thought it was the best the Spinners had ever sounded. So, but it got no play. I called the A&R director once and told him that one of the guys on MTV had said that the title track, Crossfire, would be great to have a video of, and his response was, when I told him that, was, "Oh, great! It wasn't that. It was like, oh, yes, like that's not what I was expecting to hear." So I knew it didn't stand a chance at that point. I knew that, it was just something. I don't know why they let us work so hard on it. If they didn't plan on, working it. That's another thing too. Another thing I really got out of all of this is working with all of those classic artists and meeting them and seeing what great people they are. Gladys Knight, the Spinners, the Tavares. Those are the sweetest people. You would think that they would be hard, mad at the stuff that happened. You know what I mean? It didn't. You know what I mean? But they're not. They were just a great. Bubba would sit and tell you stories as long as you would listen. And the Spinners now, there's only John Edwards left. All of Henry just died like about a month ago. I mean, they're all gone. It's so sad because I really like those cats so much. You know what I mean? It's just, when you work with some people, sometimes some people are just prima donnas, it's like on to the next, whatever. But sometimes you meet some friends like Butch Tavares. So he'll always be my friend. He's just a good guy. You know what I mean? So I'm happy about that. I got the people that I got to meet that, were just, but sometimes you meet your heroes and you think, oh, man,
Right.
I wish I never met them. You know what I mean? I just like, it changes even the way I feel about the music is different now, so, but then other times you meet people who you think might have a chip on their shoulder and they're just such a wonderful human being,
Who was a little temperamental to work with?
I won't get into that because,
I'm not saying they were bad. I'm just saying they might have been a little, let's say,
a lot of people didn't like the over and over syndrome that you had to do with us to get it to do, because there's no cutting and pasting like it is now. So you do it over, even if the tag is 100 times the same thing, no cutting and pasting. You had to get that and come back and punch in and punch out and get. And some people just weren't down with. Also, some people had the Sinatra thing where they wanted to like do their own thing. I had an artist once, and the first rundown of the song, I had to look at the other writer and go, "Whose song is that?" I mean, he went total Sinatra on us. Like, I don't even know what that was. So some people were used to, they were encouraged in some bands to do your own thing, to do. So I kind of get it with some of them, but Solar was just, it wasn't going to be that. I don't care who the producer was at Solar, because they all came out up under Leon and they were all going to pitch and pocket you to death. It was going to be right by the time. If nothing else, when it was finished, you heard it again, you weren't going to hear any bad notes on it. So you had to learn how to keep the feel in there and the feeling in it, and still do that. And everybody did that. When we first did the Spinners, at first they couldn't get to it. They were like, John Edwards told me I could hear rabbits pissing on cotton. I'm not really sure what that means. But then within no time at all, they were like wanting to do stuff over that even me and William Zimmerman, he was the other producer, that we thought was okay. No, we could. So, because you hear it come back across those speakers, you hear yourself and say, oh, I can do that every time. You start thinking that. You start thinking, I can sound that good. Every note, every line I do, I can sound that good if I put that into. And you get caught up into that. And after a while, that's all you want to do as a singer, is you want to sound like that. You want from now to the end of time, when people put your records on, you want them to hear you sounding like that. So
Yeah, sometimes though it's little imperfections or quirks though that make something a little extra special too.
but if it's extra special and it works, we would keep it. It wasn't like it was. Sometimes people ad libs or somebody would do a riff that wasn't part of the thing. Oh, that's killing. And we keep it or do it again and stuff. So I mean, we all learn to work. To work with each other because we're doing album after album with each other. Not like one offs. You know what I mean? We're doing 2, 3, 4 albums together. These groups. So everybody becomes that after a while themselves. As an some artists after a while you don't even have to do anything. Just run the tape. They tell you to stop it. So and they learn how to put that feel and that sound on there. Because our record sounded good. They didn't sound. Nobody sounded cautious on that stuff. You know what I mean? They all and then also, and you go to see them live and realize that's also that it's going on with them onto the stage. They're like they're perfectionists even up there now. You see it. You see it moving on through their career in other ways too.
Did you return to the stage at all, like during the 80s?
Uh, well, I mean, we went out with Kerry Lucas, but after everything kind of died down, me and Vernon Woods and Mark Philpart, who sung a lot of background. We were the background singers in Solar stuff that did stuff for anybody who wasn't a singing group. And even then, we padded some of the stuff. Again, a lot of people don't know that. But we played at this club, uh, late '80s, early '90s for like 3 years, just doing covers. I did in between my stints with Lakeside. I did that with them. To this day, the three of us. So it was immediate how our voices worked together. From the first time, when Leon had us singing together at my apartment, it's like, oh wow, one of those Crosby, Stills, Nash things. Like these three guys' voices really work together. So we've continued to sing, together throughout all of these years. I would get sick with arthritis thing again, and then we come back and we play BB Kings and stuff. We still, I mean, they're like my best friends still. So it's like it's a I haven't done anything though since I left Lakeside in '96 again because the arthritis thing came back, but I got better again from him. So I rejoined with Mark and Vernon. And we played BB Kings and stuff.
What do you make of there being like two Lakesides?
A lot of different versions, people coming in and out and stuff. But Mark was always the one thing vocally to stay there. And then after I left, and he did the thing where he left the group and has the name. It's just so bizarre, because I mean, what do you do? These are all your friends. You know what I mean? So how do what do you do? Like I said, I've known him since, what year was that? I was in second grade. He was in the kindergarten. I don't even know what year that was. 59, 60. You know what I mean? That's a long time to know somebody. So, but you get older and you just really never know what somebody's going to do. So, the good thing about it is, as badly as things were, at Fred Lewis's service, Stevie Shockley and Mark went and hung out and had, they talked after years. They actually hooked up and talked and got together again. So that's good for healing, because I never even thought that would happen. So that's a good thing. But I don't know what can come. I mean, I can't, that still can never be, what are you going to do? It's still going to be two Lakesides because Eddie's put too much time into it now. I mean, there's no way it's like one day Mark comes back and Eddie's gone. He's been in it for as long as Mark was in there. You know what I mean? Because he's sustained all of these years. He's been the lead singer for, so and people think of him when they think of Lakeside now. So, and he does a damn good job. So that was a mistake on Mark's part, in my opinion. Because he went and got everybody. He went and got Norman back and Tommy Shelby back and Otis back. So there's more originals than ever in that. After Mark left, everybody that had left except T. Meyer and me was back. And so you again had that thing that hadn't been there in a long time. The closest to it was with me and Larry with Mark with the Sinbad thing with the choreography and everything. But you hadn't had four guys up there, doing that since the old days, since Otis and T. Meyer originally left in whatever year that was, 86 or something. So you actually had that was Lakeside, the pirate outfits and everything. I mean that's Lakeside now. So I mean, how are you going to top that? I don't care if you were the lead singer. What are you going to you can't beat that. So um, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, we're seeing that with a lot of, especially R&B acts from back then, where they're splintered and there's different versions, and the fans get confused. And
Even with guys with brothers in the band, you know what I mean? Even brothers can't get along for 45 minutes. So it's like I don't know. And at first I was thinking was just just us, just black people. We just I thing and stuff. And then I saw this documentary on Chicago. It doesn't matter what race or creed we're coming from. It's just a musician thing. At one point or another,
temperamental musicians.
it's just something happens. I don't know what.
Hey, let me ask you, Dana. Did you follow Platypus after they got the Casablanca deal, and did you think
Yeah,
that maybe did you think they were going to get over better than they did?
yeah, because I like the song. Uh, I mean we've always been friends, so we all stayed. They came even when they came out to do the second album. They dropped their equipment off over at my apartment and stuff. So I mean, it's like, it's always been, uh, on the Solar tour when I was out, Kerry rode back on the bus with us to come back to LA and stuff. So it's always been, and I wrote some songs with him on this Jackie Boy stuff. So I mean, it's like um, it's a family that I've been in bands with Rock Jones since the eighth grade. And no matter what, if something would die, we would always all of us would always pull each other into whatever came next. You know what I mean? Like I said, so when I was in the Bad Bunch and wasn't no band, I brought him and Hines in. I left, and then Floyd, and then brought me in, when, to keep somebody in, and then when we were no longer with Ohio Hustlers, again, I brought Hines and Lloyd back in. It's just, we all wanted to keep that nucleus as much as possible. It's like even with Lakeside, you see, anytime they can replace somebody with somebody from Dayton, they do. At one point it became impossible to do that. But even lately, Reggie, he was from Dayton, another guy that we grew up with in singing groups and stuff. So it's like, even when Will passed and stuff, they still brought another Dayton guy in. So it's a Dayton thing. We like to be surrounded with Dayton people wherever possible, because we're some talented knuckleheads, man. If you can get past the knucklehead part, you got something happening, So it's just like the 45 minutes to an hour on the stage is always wonderful. The drama that happens in between is something you just have to deal with. And there's so much drama. I could write a book just on drama, Lakeside drama.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just, and all groups that I've been in drama, because it just happens. Any two individuals is not going to agree all the time on anything. It's just, so the more of those individuals you get, the more things you have to clash on. Stuff. So that was a good thing about Solar too, is that Dick Grivy was always the bottom line. You can argue amongst yourselves about whatever. The bottom line was he was going to do what was best for the company. That was it. Okay, we're doing this. This is going to be the record. This is not making the record. You know what I mean? This is the single. That was it. You go on the bus and continue arguing amongst yourselves if you want to, but this is what's happening. So, and the best decisions were made. So as long as Leon and Dick were there, making those kind of decisions on the music and what happened after the music, it was going to be okay, because people inside of you have your different people clash for different reasons, depending on, if you wanted a song and your song didn't make it, or, I mean, just like whatever. You see people, especially after it turns into the record business and records are coming out and there's royalties and everything, you see things differently. The first time that royalty checks are passed out and you understand what the writers are getting that you're not, it changes. I have to be a writer now.
Yeah,
right? Because
publishing.
because because look at what they just what I mean. So that all changes, and you have to deal with that stuff as it goes on. It's all part of it. It's human nature. It's people, and it's just something you have to deal with from now to the end of time until it's only you. And even then, you clash with yourself when it comes to music. I set up doing these songs and stuff here. So now we're doing, writing songs. Write songs for movies and TV because now they use songs in place of cues. There used to be, if you notice, you watch anything, cable, there's songs in it now. They like using retro, so but a lot of times original artists are charging too much, so they want songs that sound like songs from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So we're doing that. I forgot to mention that there's been a relaunch of Solar, and I'm A&R director. So that's something else I forgot to mention. That's probably worth mentioning.
What does that involve?
Carrie Lucas and Carolyn Griffey inherited the label from Dick, and I mean, she went through all of this legal stuff. I mean, she had to fight. Even got the Soul Train label back because BET thought they owned it because they owned Soul Train, but the label was something different. And Dick had bought Don Cornelius out, so she fought for years and got all of this stuff back, got the rights back. So in the UK, Solar's relaunched again. So exactly what's going to be happening with it, I'm not sure. We were doing something. Do something with some of the original acts with these DJs. But I don't know that that's going to happen. So, but anyway, the label is back launched, Solar UK, and we'll see what happens from there. But for the time being, we're just doing a bunch of writing from me and Leon Silver's back together, and stuff. So, and we're just writing, for movies and stuff. So it's like.
That's great. I'm in communication with Carrie, so I'm hoping to have her on soon.
Oh, great! Yeah, she's over in the UK right now. So
Let me ask you, Dana. Do you remember what was the first song that you had a role in that you heard on the radio, where you were just like pumping your fist in the air and saying, "That's mine, baby"?
I'm not sure. I can't remember if hearing stuff. The backgrounds that we sung on Carrie's singles was first, or if because I didn't know how to feel about it, and the beat goes on because we weren't on it. It was for us, and we were there when we cut it, but somebody else's voices went on there. So, I mean, I watched it being put together, but it wasn't the same thing. So the biggest leap, of course, was just a love thing because I was a writer on it, and it went up the charts very quickly. So, and from that point on. I mean, that was the first thing as a single. But of course, Shalimar's album had come out before that. So I had a few songs that was on that album. That felt good. I hadn't heard anything on the radio yet. So I didn't hear anything on the radio, I don't think. But it's a love thing. But I think the Carrie stuff, I heard that stuff, it's not what you got, it's how you use it. That's all that stuff had been out on the radio and stuff with me and Mark and Vernon's voice on, career, all of that stuff. So I felt good about that, hearing my voice on the radio, background on that felt good.
You never broke out an auto harp in front of Dick Griffey?
You know what? No, but he knew of that stuff, and he had me play the Teosho Godo behind Carrie when we went out. But she sung Visions by Stevie Wonder, and I played the solo on it. So he had me do that, so he did. Never brought the auto harp out, but he had me play the little Japanese. I've done all that stuff again. I just wrote a song that's sort of a Crosby, Stills, Nash song, and I played most of those instruments on it. The auto harp, and Dodo, and dulcimer, all kinds of stuff. Some acoustic kind of songs. So I'm having the most fun I've had in a long time because I can write whatever I want. I mean, anything, children's songs. I mean, everything is used in movies. I mean, there's really nothing you can write that's not usable. That's not saying it will be used, but it's usable. So I can just pretend that, I got a call from Motown for a song for the Four Tops or whatever, and write just anything I want to. It's the longest leash that I've ever had, because it's just anything. I mean,
there's endless programming now. There's so many channels streaming and everything, and they all need some music.
their own movies. Netflix makes their own movies. It's continuous, and it's like so. It's not even like so much competition that you can't deal with because there's more stuff being filmed and put out there than there are people probably trying to get songs in there. I don't know if everybody even realizes that this is happening, but I mean they no longer hear. You used to hear on TV and stuff. When somebody's walking for one, the changing scene, some little thing like that. Now it's songs from one
Yeah.
scene to the next. They'll use a song, and it used to be, it would be the Isleys or Al Green or Chicago or something. But I think they charge so much, even though they're hundreds of millions are being spent on movies. I think they don't like paying somebody 400 or 500 grand for a song that there's dialogue going over the top of. If it's being used coming up in the credits, or it's by itself in some scene. But sometimes they use the stuff because you have to use period correct songs. You can't have somebody parked at Lover's Lane in a '57 Chevy and have Beyonce coming out of the car stereo.
Right.
You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
just have, you know what I mean? So they have to, and if it's in 1966 Minnesota, it probably needs to be polka. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? So it's just all these different things. Some things cater to something. It needs to be a children's song, but maybe they'll have somebody write it. They can't find something that some soupy sales tune or something. So everything is out there. Reggae. Each week there's requests for certain things. A few weeks ago there was like they needed something folk. So I mean it's just you name it, and there's a use for it. So I'm just gonna write this stuff and throw it against the wall. And if it gets used, great. But if it doesn't, I still had the time of my life doing it. Because I can write songs before I even was even writing songs. I mean, I wasn't even writing songs when doo-wop and stuff was out. The Ames brothers, or any of that kind of stuff, or swing stuff. I wasn't even born. So
That sounds better. That sounds better than relying on Spotify royalties or something like that.
it's so hard. It used to be you have a meeting with the artist and the A&R director and their manager. You play them songs. They would make some decisions right there on the spot, what they liked, they didn't like. Within a couple of weeks, the deal was made. A couple of weeks after that, you're in the studio. A month or 2 months later, it's out. They talk about stuff for 6, 9 months now. Only for sometimes it doesn't happen. You can think you have something happening for 9 months, and then they change their mind. So, I mean, who has the temperament for that? I don't. I don't. Plus, I don't completely even understand what I stripper music. I don't even know how to do that. So I'm happy that that this has come about again. Plus, the Europe and the UK, they're actually asking us, and which is odd. I never thought this would happen. It's so bizarre. They're asking us to write and record stuff like we used to. Modernize technology wise, but they want songs over there that have melodies and hooks and stuff. Bruno Mars is a perfect example. Of Silk Sonic. I mean, that's a perfect example of a perfect hybrid of old and new. I mean, they have hooks, melodies. They're being romantic. They're not singing about anybody getting killed. Sprayed down with some kind of AK weapon. They're not talking badly about women, calling it bitches. So they've helped bring that back. And what I found out is that overseas in Europe and UK and South America and even Africa, they never stopped liking what they did. They absorbed the new, whatever came, but they didn't kick the old stuff to the
Yeah,
curb.
they're not as fickle over there for some reason.
They don't get rid. They can take whatever's new and still like what happened before. But the odd part of that is that the young people over there somehow have gotten into their parents' and grandparents' record collection and know all of this stuff. I talk to these people on Facebook in their 20s, and I'm thinking, what do you know about this stuff? You know what I mean? One person thanked me for accepting their friendship by using the lyrics to 3 different songs of mine. One of which I had to go and try to figure out what song that was. But they knew my stuff better than I did. So, so I mean, I never would have guessed in a million years that at this, I'll be 72 in a couple of weeks.
Well, an interesting phenomenon too, Dana, is, I don't know if you're aware, but on YouTube, one of the most popular formats for videos is reactions to old songs. And there are young people that are reacting, and a lot of young people are watching those.
Right.
So they're getting exposed.
It's, when I was coming up, the especially here, the old thing died out and the new thing came in. That could happen over and over again. And you didn't even see, even though there was the oldie shows, the 50, shows that happened. That only went on even for so long. You didn't see, I mean, look now, every week, Lakeside, the Commodores, Switch, Cool in the Gang, all these groups are working every week.
Yeah, cruises, shows, yeah,
They're doing across the country and across the world. They're still,
Las Vegas, yeah,
these are good. Some of these acts are older than me.
yeah.
I'll be 72 in a few weeks. Some of these cats are in their 80s. You never saw that before, that people want to hear this music. They don't care how old the people are displaying it. They don't care. I've had people tell me on Facebook, on the interviews, when I'm doing interviews and stuff over there, that they don't care. Just make some new songs and come over. And I'm just like, I was talking with a guy, a music enthusiast in Lima, Peru. I never thought I'd be talking to, Lima, Peru. I never knew that they even knew anything about us there. But all parts of the world. I have friends on Facebook from African countries that I don't even know how to pronounce. So there's this whole new movement of people saying, we would like some more of that, which you did then. You know what I mean? And it can really only help but still sound a bit modern because technology makes it sound like that. Basically, I don't hear a whole lot of difference. The difference in what Silk Sonic does and what we did is Anderson sings sort of hip hop rhythm and like the verses, and Bruno comes in with the straight ahead 70s, 80s soul thing and the change in the hooks and stuff. On a lot of it. Some of it's right from the jump is old school. But other than that, the only difference is digital technology playing the stuff. Some of the stuff, because those guys play. I mean, they may not play a whole song like we did, but they play in sections, and they all of those guys all play various instruments. They switch up and they play. So I mean, that's the thing too. So I mean, and Anderson is, he's a real drummer. You know what I mean? But it's a good. Leon is really good at that too, at the hybrid, the old, mixing the old with the new thing and stuff too. So I just can't believe that this exists. If I knew where to send those guys a fruit basket or something, I would, because they're such a big part of me being able to be musical again.
Well, there's an appreciation of actual playing and melody, and it's kind of like almost like underground, because the record business as it is, still mostly promoting what it wants to promote because it thinks it can make the biggest buck the most quickly.
Quickly, yeah.
But in reality, out there in the world, there's still appreciation. That music, a lot of those songs are just timeless, and just shows you the power of a good song and how it, endures.
I want to buy Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak gifts.
my son recently, he's 19. He said he wanted me to know if I heard Silk Sonic. I'm like, yeah, and he's like, yeah, I like it. It's Bootsy's on there, and because me and him aware of who Bootsy is, of course. And so he's like, did you know that? I'm like, yeah, I knew it. Like, I like it.
It's amazing work that some cats that age can do it that authentically. I mean, there's nothing. It's authentic. You know what I mean? There's nothing you can pull apart or take away. It's like I'm loving it. I bought, as soon as that album came out, I bought it. And it's just, because Bruno Mars had already even through the years, little by little, he got a little more and a little more retro. With each thing that came out, you could hear it right from the beginning that he liked melodies and songs and stuff, but a little more and a little more as it went on. And then I saw them on TV with, looking like the Shy Lights doing choreography and stuff. I just couldn't believe it. So, so they bring a smile to my face, and the fact that people are telling this, originally I thought it was people my age reliving their youth. And then I come to find out that these are young folks, and it amazes me, but I guess eventually melodies and lyrics and stuff would come back around. I didn't know, because where else was it actually going to go? It had gone as far as the disrespect of women and the violence. It had gone about as far as it could go.
And also purely electronic and not
Right.
really playing,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it started coming back with like Neo, like those people, Neo and Robin Thicke and stuff. They started bringing melodies and songs back. You know,
And even like a Justin Timberlake. Yeah.
yeah, it started coming back with. Yeah, it was back a lot with the boy bands, but it was almost exclusively them. Nobody else was. It hadn't turned into a thing that everybody thought they had to do until later on. I think Neo and them made people kind of think, oh, I might want to do that too. And some girl groups came out. They started singing, or the harmony stuff, and then but
They say it's all cyclical, right?
Bruno
Things are.
Mars really kicked it into a whole new gear. Again, I want to get him a gift of something.
If you had to only pick 5 Desert Island albums of all time for you, I'm sure one's probably yes from what you said, maybe. But what would the five be?
All time, Steely Dan, because they do everything musically that you could possibly do in a song, not just within an album. I mean, the songs are all blues based, and I'm a blues guy more than anything else, and guitar. I love guitar music. Come from that, and they have great hooks, unbelievably fantastic melodies. He and Becker were both literature majors, so that's why the lyrics are there as good as they are lyrically. And then they know how to take jazz and pop and make it work, and especially with the rock, with the guitar stuff that they put in. So their stuff is like, it has everything in it. Everything in it. Especially, I mean, Asia and Gaucho are the two biggest things, but I like the Royal Scam is my favorite album because it's kind of the guitar album, with the Larry Carlton stuff on those solos and stuff. So that's my favorite stuff is Steely Dan. My desert island stuff is Steely Dan, and then yeah, I guess I would take some fragile. I mean, I would take some Yes with me. For the longest time, there was a period in the '70s where Stevie Wonder would have definitely been. I'm not sure if he's still in my desert island thing or not. Maybe he is. I probably need to go back and listen to that stuff again. I lived in it, the '60s and '70s. I'm trying to think, and just I mean, the Crosby, Stills, those Crosby, Stills, Nash and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young albums. The way their voices sound together and that harmony is just, those are my desert island. So those three acts for sure. A certain amount of Beatles stuff I would have to have. My greatest songwriters of all time. So I'd have to, I couldn't take all of it obviously, but there's stuff I could make a mix of their stuff that I would need to have. That, like, I don't know, there's just so much stuff. I mean, I went through periods of time of people that you just like I said, I have to.
Well, you said you like blues. Is there any blues guy?
Um, I'm a guitar cat, so I mean, I like the guys that played that fused it together. My favorite is Robin Ford. He's a blues guitar player that knows jazz. Like Larry Carlton. So I mean, Carlton didn't do the blues thing exclusively enough. So I have to pick and choose. Because he does the music thing that he does. The soft, whatever you want to call that.
I love when he was with the Crusaders.
But Robin Ford really took on the blues thing seriously with the rock thing. It. But he changes a lot. So I mean, he hasn't been. He's changed there's a period of time of Robin Ford that I still live with and have on my, that I listen to constantly in the videos and stuff. He's moved on from that, but there's that stuff. It's too much. I mean, what? How
That's
can
okay. I'll let you stop there. That's 5. That's
you know,
good.
because I would miss Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf. Buddy Guy. I would miss that stuff. I would miss the Beach Boys. You know what I mean? It's just there's so many things that I came up listening to that all became part of what I do. I mean, if you listen to the song that I did on Reel to Reel, you can hear the Beach Boys. The way that the vocals come in and out and go back. Listen to when you get a chance. Listen to "Taking a Long Way Home," and the way those vocals coming in and out. The way that you
Got
can
some Brian Wilson element in there.
Brian Wilson element that you can tell that's the only place I could have gotten that. Even while I was doing it, I didn't know I was until I listened to it and heard it back. It's like, oh, that's the Beach Boys in me coming back. So, not the surfing part of them, but the period that he did, God only knows, that stuff, that period of
Yeah.
pet sounds and stuff, that
Really innovative. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, that part of the Beach Boys has stuck with me forever. So I just love music. I mean, the best of I used to drive, I think probably drive my neighbors in Hollywood completely nuts because I could go from Metallica to a 12-inch remix in the drop of a hat. I wouldn't have to be in a certain mood or anything. I could go from one extreme music to the next.
There's much more to this great Truth and Rhythm interview. Just continue on to the next part of the episode. Also, be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. And become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon or consider donating at funkinstuff.net. Thank you very much.